Hi, it's Rob Levy again. I thought I'd talk on this little video about, what's going on about affordability. Is it now a good time to buy based on affordability? And what exactly is affordability? And how is that calculated? So I've been in the real estate world for about 33 years as a top producing realtor in Portland, Oregon. And I've kind of watched people buy and sell over the years, and we've sold an awful lot of homes as a top producing realtor team. So really it breaks down to three things in my opinion. Number one, of course, the biggest thing, the 600-pound elephant in the room, is mortgage rates. And mortgage rates make a massive difference. I know that I personally did a loan in the early 80s on a house that I bought where it was 17% interest. That's a lot of interest. However, last year I was doing some at 2.25 in 2020. So, rates fluctuate all the time, and it makes such a huge difference. And the reason is because if you look at this chart here, and you look at interest rates over what they were over the decades, and now look at what they are today, where they're hovering around about 3%, and look at the predictions on where people think they're going to end up, there probably hasn't been a better time to buy a house just because the rates are so cheap. Now, what's going on with that? Well, I'm not an expert. I'm a real estate agent. I'm not an economist or anything, but I read a lot on this stuff. And what I'm seeing is basically right now, as of the recording of this, which is middle of June 2021, interest rates are hovering around just around 3%. And by the way, those are 30-year fixed rate mortgages. So what that really means is that if your interest rate your payment, I should say, is, let's say, $2,000 a month, it's going to stay at $2,000 a month for the next 30 years. As I've spoken about in earlier videos, that's not the case in many Western countries, like Canada, for instance. Yeah, you can get a 30-year mortgage, but if the interest rate goes up in 5 years when they renew, then you renew at that new interest rate. Now, what do you think? Do you think interest rates are going to go up or are they going to go down? Yeah, most people are saying they're going to go up. And this little chart here talks about what some of the predictions are. And there's another note here that I saw in Yahoo where they were talking about possibly 4% interest rates by the end of the year. So mortgage interest rates play a big part of this. The second part of the equation is mortgage interest rates as a percentage of your income. So that makes a big difference. If you're on a fixed income or if you know that you're going to get small raises every year, you've got the predictability of knowing what that is. So mortgage interest rates as a percentage of your income, right now with them being so cheap, makes it much more affordable to buy a house, even though the houses are more expensive. And so it comes down to affordability index. And this chart right here shows the affordability index over the years. And it's interesting. You can see there were some great times in 2012. Houses were cheap, but then interest rates were much higher. And you can see what's happened since then. So you'd think that buying a house in 2015 makes a lot of sense. Well, buying a house in 2021 makes a lot of sense because the interest rates are so cheap. Right now, we still have this small window. And of course, the third part of the equation is home prices. Yeah, they were much cheaper in 2012, and they're much more expensive now. I know, I watch my neighborhood houses sell just like you do and say, wow, I can't believe it went for that, but it did. But the reality is this: home prices don't have a huge effect in this if the interest rates are cheaper because your payments are going to be lower. So a case in point, I had a client, actually my son, sold a $400,000 house to him. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm going to say it was a $400,000 mortgage. And he said, Dad, what happens if the price drops 10%? Well, first off, there's no indication that that's going to happen in the near future, but I'm also smart enough to know that it does happen. By the way, click on subscribe to this or share it with a friend. I'd love it if you'd do that. So he said to me, he said, Dad, what happens? I said, well, your $400,000 house just dropped to $360,000. But let me ask you this. You got your interest rate at 2.5%. Let's say I buy your $400,000 house for $360,000. What's that going to look like with me paying, let's say, a 5% interest rate? And that's probably very reasonable to expect 5%. I don't know when, but we know at some point in the future, based on that earlier chart I showed you, it's going to get back up to more normal interest rates. Anyway, the answer to the question is $289. $289 a month more I would be paying for a house that's 10% cheaper if the interest rate was at 5%. Now, 5% interest rates, you can, again, looking at the interest rate by decade chart earlier, you can see that's not unreasonable. It's probably can be expected. And for that very reason alone, it means now is probably a very good time to buy a house. So if you're thinking about buying a house, yeah, I know I'm from Portland. I'm a well-connected realtor, one of the top realtors in the nation, and have been for years connected to other top realtors in the nation. So if you're looking for other areas and looking for a top realtor in your area, give me a call. Our information's here on the screen. Send me an email, whatever the case may be, through my website. And I'll connect you with a top agent in that area. But, get yourself pre-approved with a lender. If you don't have a lender, I've got a list of lenders I'm happy to refer. In Oregon, we don't receive anything for that. It's illegal, so I don't get any benefits other than knowing that I'm sending you to a great lender. and get yourself pre-approved, figure out what you can afford, and go from there. So if you got any questions, give me a call. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please, again, subscribe down below and share with a friend. I'd really appreciate it.